What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
Today we're taking a look at CABO.
So CABO is, as you can see, a really small, very light card game that has there's strategy, but it has a really big memory aspect. Like, I don't want to call it a memory game, but that's a big part of what it is.
Basically, you're going to have 4 cards in front of you. You start off knowing what 2 of them are, and the cards are numbered 0 to 13. Some of the cards have actions on them, and your goal is to have the sum of the nut cards in front of you be the least at the table. So, like, if I have like a 1, a 1, a 2, and a 3, I have 7 there. So I want...
Yeah, it's 7.
So I want 7 to be the lowest total at the table when I call CABO, which triggers end of game and gives everyone else 1 point, which then makes me a target of, oh, he obviously thinks he has low cards. Let me try to dump my big cards on him. And so basically you draw a card every turn from either the deck or the discard pile and either swap out one of your cards with the card you just drew, or you can do the ability which lets you look at some of your cards or look at somebody else's cards.
Peek, spy, and swap. So
yeah,
peek is yours. With
somebody else.
Yeah, peek is yours. Spy is look at somebody else's. Swap is swap with somebody else. And it is kind of funny because I remember when we were just playing recently, I was like, yeah, I think the numbers are 1 through 13. I don't think there's any 0. And then I got dealt a 0 and I was like, hang on, dude, we should redeal because there actually is a 0. And when I did that, he's like, yeah, I know there is. He flipped up a 0. I'm like, oh, okay.
But the memory comes in play because once your cards are on the table, you don't ever get to look at them again unless a card lets you. So you could look and say, okay, I've got a 12 and a 0. I know those 2 are there, but you need to remember where those are so that you can try to get rid of your 12 and make sure that you protect your 0. And if someone steals your 0, you want to try to steal it back from them.
Right, you have to remember where they put it. And now it is important to note when we said peek, swap, and spy, those are only on cards that you draw. Because you're going to be drawing a lot of cards from the deck and deciding either to discard them for their ability, discard them because you don't want them, or swap with the cards that you have in front of you. You know, I'm going to take this one face down and put this one, back in the discard pile. But you may at the very beginning look and be like, I have 2 spy cards. That doesn't help me. I can't use these ones that are in front of me. I have to get them from the top of the deck. There's another thing of when you go to swap like that, you pull up, okay, so I flip up, this is a 1. It's not a 1, but here's a 1. I flip up, this is a 1. Okay, I want to play this one in place of this other one. You could say all 3 of these are 7s. So instead of swapping this one out with a single card, I'm going to swap this one out with 3 cards. It's hard to do examples when the table's a mess. But if you're wrong, you're like, oh, all 3 of these weren't 7s, then you gain all of those back in addition to the card you just drew. So like you have to, again, it's so based on memory that you're almost like gambling. I think I've been watching these correctly, and these are all the same. Because if they are all the same, then they go bye-bye, and now you only have this one.
You can trade 3 cards out for 1 card.
Yeah, so that's a really good move, but if you mess it up, it's a pretty big gamble, you know?
Yeah, and if you try to do like a bunch of cards, you can actually end up getting like extra cards even added to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's that limit. So that what I just said there, if you're wrong by 3 or more cards, you actually, not only do you gain those cards back, plus the one you just drew, you draw an additional one, which can be really bad. Oh, and there's also the Kamikaze Rule. If you ever end with exactly 2 12s and 2 13s, you score 0 and everybody else scores a 50 because again you want a low score. So there's a couple wrenches to be thrown in there, so it's not just trying to get the single lowest card all the time. You kind of there's a little bit of extra strategy in there.
And as far as like the scoring goes, and I feel like we're pretty standard this with most games of this like level of complexity. These like light, fluffy party games, we like never keep score. So it's supposed to be until someone like breaks 100 or something and the game's over. Or if you hit exactly 100, you drop back down to 50. But we like don't tag games on back to forth. Say, okay, well I scored 7 points this game, but then 12 points this game, and then 3 points this game. So we just gotta say, oh, I won this one. And if you win by Kamikaze, it's like you get bragging rights for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why the point system is there. Trying to get to a certain, or really not trying to get other people to a certain limit. Because you want to have the lowest score. But yeah, this one does feel light enough to where, I'm okay just doing a couple of rounds and not necessarily doing, really, really focusing on the scoring. That being said, it's really light, but it also, because there's so much memory, 1, I'm kind of bad at it, but 2, We like tried to play this at a restaurant where we were eating and stuff, and like every time I stop to eat and I go look back, I'm like, now I don't remember what I have. So you really can't. It is really light and it's fun, but it's hard to like also carry on a conversation or do anything else because it's so memory based. So it's almost best to like do when everybody's waiting for something, like you're waiting for another player to show up, or you're waiting for a train. You're waiting for a train that'll take you far away.
You're waiting for a train. A train that'll take you far away.
Yeah, because if, like, you can't step away from the table for a minute either. You can't say, I gotta take a phone call, or I'm gonna text a buddy really quick, or I'm gonna look at this other game.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom, yeah.
Yeah, because if you look away for a second, the whole, like, somebody could swap a card with you, or, like, Tom stole my 0, and then I look away, and Aaron steals that 0 from Tom. Well, then I go to try to steal that 0, and then I end up with a 12. And so it definitely is something you have to be focused when you play it.
Right. But again, I mean, I do enjoy the game. I don't love it. I mean, it's a light game, so by definition, I'm always just going to be like, yeah, it's a fun, light experience. Mm-hmm. The art is good. The rules are simple enough. My biggest complaints are that, the memory aspect does make it a little bit difficult, but my single biggest one has got to be the packaging. I really just don't like this packaging. The
tuck box.
The tuck box thing, this is by definition just going to get worse and worse, and it's going to get all crappy. And it's really hard to put these back because they have to fit sideways in here like this. It's not really...
Can't sleeve them.
You can't sleeve them, and you definitely can't put the whole deck in face up like this and still have this score pad in there as well. Like, it's just... I just really didn't like this. It should have just been a tiny little box that opens up like this. Would have been way better.
And one of the things that I thought would have made this game better is if, like, some of the cards have actions and some of them don't. And so, like, you could be, like, really hoping for an action or something. And you're like, oh, I got a number card that I'm just going to discard it because it's boring. Which they fixed in their game Silver that's coming out soon, which is...
Well, depending on when you're watching this, it's either out or it's not. Yeah, but there's Silver and Silver Bullet, where every card has actions, and those two games are somewhat interchangeable. Like, so you can play Silver, you can play Silver Bullet, and you can take the 3s from Silver Bullet and swap it with the 3s from Silver and play that. But that's the much more advanced version.
But I would almost recommend that one over this one, unless you wanted something more basic.
Yeah, this one is, again, it is very light. It's the waiting for a train game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. And I have a good time with it.
I enjoyed playing it.
Outside of the minor complaints we already mentioned, but, it is very light. Keep that in mind.
But if you do want to pick up a copy of CABO, we'll have a purchase link in the description box down there.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. It is so hot in here.
Yep.
You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.